Hello, I'm Daniel, and welcome to the Emunah Project. We here at the Emunah Project are continuing in our series of videos for converts, Gerim, Returnees to Judaism, Baalei Tshuva and Bnei Noach. And this morning I'd like to tell you a story about Rabbi Chaim. Rabbi Chaim was an itinerant preacher. He would go from town to town giving sermons, giving lectures, and he focused always on Derech Eretz and treating each other kindly and respectfully. He would often begin his Divrei Torah, his sermons, with the following story. He said, "I was given a vision of Olam Haba, the world to come, and I was shown Shemaim, heaven, and I was shown Gehenna, which is basically like a purgatory. And I went to Gehenna, and there were rows and rows and rows of tables, each laden with the most delicious, most sumptuous food. And but the people sitting at the tables were pale and gaunt and emaciated. They were starving in front of all this food. The closer I got, the more I realized that their arms had splints, wooden slats, that prevented their arms from bending. So even though there was a spoon full of food, they couldn't get the food to reach their mouths. And he says, and the moaning, the groaning, the suffering of these starving people was unbearable. It was such torture. I was then shown Shemaim, heaven. It was the same thing. Countless rows and rows and rows of tables laden with food. People with their arms in splints, not being able to bend their elbows. But in Shemaim, in heaven, they weren't starving. They were well fed. They were happy. They were talking. Why? Because in Shemaim, in heaven, what happened is the person whose arm had the spoon, he leaned over the table and fed the person across the table from him. The person would thank him and return the favor, would give him food. And they ate and they talked and they laughed, and it was gewaldic. It was really wonderful. And he says, oftentimes, the difference between heaven and hell, the difference between Shemaim and Gehenna, the circumstances are the same. The situation is the same. But it's how we treat people, how we treat each other. That makes the difference. The way I heard the story, there was a bit of an addendum. Having seen how things worked in heaven, having seen how wonderfully things went in Shemaim, Rabbi Chaim went back down to Gehenna, and he told the people, listen, it doesn't have to be like this. Use your spoon of food, give it to the person across the table from you. He can eat, he'll do the same. Immediately there was an uproar. What, I'm going to give food to him? Do you know who that person is? And he's not going to give anything to me, and I'd rather starve to death than give him a piece of food. And no pun intended, hell broke loose. Again, the difference, kindness to each other, chesed, derech eretz, manners, treating people kindly. Situations can seem very bad, but the way you approach them, the way you treat people, the way you speak to people, the way you behave, that's sometimes the real difference between Shemaim and Gehenna. You can make your present situation a Gehenna, a real purgatory, or you can be a mensch, you can act like a decent person, and change your situation into a Shemaim. We're going to make more videos along these lines. Please come back. Please learn. I hope they're of some inspiration for you. Until next time, on behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel, and thank you too much.